Oh, the Uncle Boy's back. The Uncle Boy's back. He was gone for a while, but now Uncle Boy's back. I wasn't doing shit. Oh, I wasn't doing shit. Just being a lazy ass and not making a show. But Uncle Boy's back. Hey, the Uncle Boy's back. I'm stopped being a lazy shit and I made a show. I storyboarded for this one, even took some notes. So the Uncle Boy's back. Hey, the Uncle Boy's back. Hey, everybody. A happy Sunday morning to you, as it's Sunday that I'm recording this. It is a Sunday morning, a little gray out there on January the 23rd. Year of our Lord 2022, a whole new year. I don't know that I made one in the new year yet. It's been so long since I made one of these. I hope everybody's been well. I really don't have any reason that I wasn't making them other than just being lazy. And I was gonna take like a week off, and then I think 1 week turned into a month. By no rhyme or reason to it, just me being a flake more than anything. It's not like I enjoy making these. They're relatively easy to do. I just use my phone and just bark into it in my living room. I'll get myself an iced coffee or a Polar, and just sit here and rap to you for an indiscriminate amount of time. I try not to make them any longer than usually like 35 to 40 minutes is the sweet spot. But if I make one 20 minutes, whatever, that's just, as long as I hit the things that I feel like I should talk about, or the ones that I sort of bullet point for. I don't want to make this like I don't know that I ever want to make this show like a defined format thing, and I don't know that I ever want to talk about like the same things twice or whatever, or if I want to keep rehashing stuff, which is fine if that's how I choose to do it, or that's how like it winds up. Like I don't really have like I want as much elasticity and moldability to what goes on here, or what topics I pick. But I think like the only things like I kind of want to sort of steer clear of is get like heavy political. Not that I don't have feelings. Not that I don't. You know what I mean? If folks started pounding me with questions, well, what do I think about this? What do I think about that? Or they really wanted me to talk about that, I would certainly. But I feel like there's enough political stuff out there, with people who are probably way more smarter and might have a better grasp of things than I, even though like I'll fall into political rabbit holes and stuff like that. But I fall into several YouTube rabbit holes, not just political ones. A big one for me during this sabbatical. I've been very fascinated with pop music. I'm pretty much my whole life I've been fascinated with pop music. I think mostly I'm more of a fan of rock music as a whole. Punk rock took over in my teens, of course. Before that, it was like sort of hair metal and hip hop I really liked for a few years there, mostly because it was what my friends listened to and whatnot, and I liked it fine as well. But I don't know if I think the only bands that I really sort of held on to as my own before punk rock was probably like Kiss, maybe Zeppelin a little bit, because my uncles, that was like their favorite, and maybe some hip hop. Like I really loved. I think like my favorite was Ice Cube. Definitely Ice Cube. I just thought he had the coolest voice. But anyway, like I'm saying, so these YouTube rabbit holes, the one that I keep falling into was like the top 100 charts of like the last 40, 50 years or so. So like I'll go as far back as like 1970 or even like 1968 or whatever, and to see like the top 100 pop songs from each year up until now, and like just how discriminate people are about, or really how the industry is of what is getting bought and sold, because I certainly do firmly believe that there's the the corporate world sort of pushes what gets, what gets the airplay and what doesn't. I don't think that's a secret to anybody. And what gets airplay is what people wind up consuming and purchasing and whatnot. So, it is what it is. A band like Blink-182 is going to sell a lot more records than, say, a band like Bracket, even though I look at them both as a very similar kind of band. You know what I'm saying? And yes, I know some of my pop punk buds are going to be like, "Oh, dude, Bracket, nice deep pull there, deep diver on something there," because they were like a band in the mid '90s that I thought were the balls. They had a few records. I think they were on Fat Wreck, which is NoFX's record label. I think they were on that label. I'm not 100% on that. Some of you people who are a little more well-versed in punk rock than I can probably throw in the comments who Bracket was on, but I remember them in that scene. And honestly, I think what they did at that time, and certainly I don't know if they're still going on. I hope they are. But I remember buying their records, and around the same time I was getting the Blink-182 album. You know what I mean? That 90s. And thinking that band did that style about as good, if not better than anybody, but they didn't get famous for it. Blink did. Nothing against Blink, because I think there's, obviously, there's so much talent in that band too. And, those guys can play, and those guys, can write tunes, and they're catchy, and they were good looking dudes who were funny as hell. So that really came across in their videos. I think that was a huge reason I think they got popular too, was because in the late 90s there, they hit right when, very sort of sophomoric humor was on television and in the movies. They were in the American Pie movie, which was the perfect foil for them. A teen movie like that. And then with Jackass being all over television, and their videos were very silly like that. And, things of that nature. So they kind of hit the right time. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is so it's just interesting to me, how pop music has, either progressed, regressed, whatever your opinion is on it, in the last 40 years, what's big now versus what's big then. And I think a big reason why I am fascinated by it is just because it's you see a lot of the same names sort of over and over again. Elton John had a hit song last year, right? With somebody, Dua Lipa, I believe, and that's 2021, right? And he had a hit song also in 1970. So it's you think about the longevity of a career Mr. Elton has had. That's Sir Elton, which is my middle name nonetheless. And some folks know that, some folks didn't. Thomas Elton Hardy is my full name. I'm named after my Uncle Elton, actually. Named for my Uncle Elton, who's my dad's uncle, who my dad really loved. He passed, I think, the year before I was born. And it was a hat tip to a guy who my dad really loved. And my mom thought it was cool because his name was Thomas. His first name was Thomas, which is, I guess, a very Canadian thing. He was, I believe he was from PEI, what's where a lot of my grandmother's family are from. And I think a big Canadian thing is they go by their middle name, I guess, or at least Uncle Elton did. Who knows what the story there is? But anyway, his real first name was Thomas, and my mom's uncle was a Thomas, who I believe passed away also, and had passed away also before I was born, and he was very close to my grandfather. So my grandfather loved the idea of, and my Uncle Tom, who was her cousin, he was basically my cousin too, but he's Uncle Tom. I grew up, he was my uncle that, he was kind of my muse. Anything that I've done in my life, be it this show here, playing music, when I did that, the little bit of stand up that I did, not much, little bit of stand up. I didn't do it a lot, and I certainly wasn't good at it. But anyway, like the little bit of that stuff that I did, my Uncle Tom was, he was my muse for the whole thing. Everything that I was doing, I would be like, I'd try to think, how could I get the Uncle Tom's stamp of approval on it. Sometimes not so much musically, because he wasn't the biggest punk rock fan or real heavy music fan. I think the heaviest Uncle Tom could get is like early Sabbath. He liked a lot. Wasn't really a big fan of Ozzy. He wasn't like a big fan of, say, like the new wave of British heavy metal with like Maiden and Priest and all that. It wasn't really his thing. He was more into, say, like Neil Young and Springsteen and that side of things, much more singer-songwriter. He liked James Taylor, stuff like that. And pardon me if you hear me sniffing back like I just did. I know that's gross. I should be blowing my nose. I've been a little stuffy since I came back from Florida. Anyway, I'll get into that later. I'm going to continue on this, talking about this rabbit hole. I swear to God, and bless these YouTube creators who are making this content there, where like they'll have like the top 200 songs for every year, according to like Billboard or whatever. And I'll just sit there and I'll watch these things, and I'm always impressed. The things that I'm impressed by or longevity with artists and how the hell they've somehow stayed, either relevant in the industry or just continue to create, new music. I don't care if, you say, every song sounds the same, whatever. I mean, it's hard enough to make a stamp and like create a sound that, people will identify with, or like they'll say, if you hear a song, you hear a ZZ Top song, that's ZZ Top. You hear an AC/DC song, that's AC/DC. You hear a New Order song, it's New Order, regardless of genre. Like if you are somebody who creates a song or a sound, and you have that as your staple, I always thought that was like really cool. And even with my own band, I thought Spectre Hawk had a sound, and Ian and Gamp and Crystal were really key, I feel, on having the Spectre Hawk sound, even though, we're nowhere near as big as the bands I'm talking about here, but that's still, in my head we're biggest band in my head anyway. So, going into that, it's like, I love seeing, like, being surprised with bands or artists that had such longevity. Two in particular, and I know these are like kind of like weird deep digs for some people. Are going to be like, who the hell is that? CeCe Peniston is one, and some of you 90s kids have to know her. She was like a pop singer, like kind of made dancey pop music, and I didn't realize how long I always thought she was a one-hit wonder because she had a song called Finally in the 90s, and it was like, you guys know, if you're not familiar with her, like, name right off the bat, you've definitely heard the song if you were around then, or even around now, because I'm sure it's been used in TV commercials and the like, and it's the song's like, finally it has happened to me right in front of my face, and you just can't describe it. Like that song right there, which I think is it's a great earworm. It really is. Cool little dancey upbeat pop number. So that track there, I thought that was like really her only hit. Like I thought she made that and like went away. I didn't realize how many like top like 100 songs like she had. Like she was around and still doing it in like the early 2000s and shit. I was like, man, CeCe Peniston. Sorry, I'm blowing my nose there. I'm just gonna leave that in. I probably should edit a lot of these like things out. I should edit all the and buts and uhs and like any little stammer thing. If you notice, a lot of people do that on YouTube. I'm starting to notice, like when I'm watching content creators, I'm looking at the little edits they do, and like, It's smart. They're cleaning it up a little bit. Not your old Uncle Boy. Uncle Boy's keeping it a hundo with y'all. Not because, I think it's more, I guess I think it's more organic, sure, but mostly because it's like, I'm not smart enough to really go into the app that I'm using, which I kind of have figured out how to do, how to edit and go just like sort of rewind it back and just dub over it or delete it how many seconds or whatever. It's like I've kind of figured it out, and I'm sure like as I continue to do this show, which I do plan on continue to do, I think I'll get better. But and I will be doing that a little just to clean it up, and really because if I've got tens of fans right now, I want to keep you guys engaged, I want to keep you guys entertained, and I want to keep you guys happy with what I'm putting out. And I feel like if I can make it better or put a little bit more effort into it, I will. I'm always down to take suggestions from y'all. If there's a handful of yous who have listened to pretty much all of them, and have even, have hit me up in my DMs, which are always open on Instagram or Facebook. You can find me. I'm sure that's how I get this out there. So, it's the only real way it seems like everybody who listens are people I've already met, which is cool. I don't think that's a bad thing per se, but it'd be nice to get some strangers listening to my show. Maybe venture out a little bit. I'm probably quite a bit away from that. Who knows? So like and subscribe to my dealie here. Doesn't cost you anything. I'm never going to charge you. I don't know. I'll never be one of those like people that puts like a paywall up for my stuff because, quite frankly, number one, I don't have the I don't really have the content to be sold right now. Like, who the hell would buy this shit? And number two, I feel like even if I did get to that level where I did, I'd still have a base Uncleboi Show for everybody for free. And the stuff you would pay for would be things like you would actually get something out of it. Like, I don't know, be it merch or something like that. Like, I would never like just throw something for nothing up there. And that's not me knocking anybody with a Patreon or an OnlyFans or whatever they're doing, like as far as content creating, because those folks have something to give. They have something to offer. Would be there in music or adult entertainment or whatever. Like, they're actually like they're contributing something to you, or like selling you a product, if you will. And that's great. Like, I mean, that's what they're doing. I'm nowhere near that yet. So I don't even know why I went off into that tangent. Anyway, other than I was like in a discussion with like about OnlyFans the other day, and about how like I think it's kind of cool. I heard what some of the adult entertainers were making, and you know what I mean. They're cutting the middleman out in a way, and they're just making their own content without having to do it through anybody. And they like, rather than getting paid once for it, they're like, you know what I mean. They're getting paid each time. By each fan or whatever the hell. And I think I think that's like very DIY and very awesome and good for them. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the, you won't hear me sitting here talking about like the pros or cons of capitalism too often, but I feel like that's a pro. Anyway, without getting too overboard into that. Stupid. Back to the pop music rabbit hole. Yeah. So I just like seeing, CeCe Peniston, man, she had so many songs. I thought she was a one-hit wonder. Another band I thought was a one-hit wonder that, holy shit, they had a hit song in like 2014, 2015. Better than Ezra? Better than Ezra were still a band and like 20 years later? I was like shocked. I was like, I remember them from being the band who like, I think it was like 94 or 95. They had a hit song all over MTV. It was good living with you, It was good living with you, It was just like the song itself kind of sounded a little like maybe a poppy REM song, or like a poppy indie rock song with a really cool like doom 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 like bass line to it. Very cool bass line to that track. And they're like a Gin Blossoms-y rock band. Totally decent toe tappy rock and roll fare. Like nothing groundbreaking. Exactly. Nothing over the top, nothing like beats you over the head, like stylistically or anything like that. But like a little satisfying little rock ditty. But man, those guys show up like so many times over. I was like, wow, better than Ezra or a thing. And another one who I'd never even heard of this band, but other than I knew one song because I used to pick on a buddy of mine, Ducky, who said he liked the track, I like me for me, not just because you hang with Leonardo or whatever the hell, Blessed Union of Souls. I didn't know who the hell these guys are. But, man, they were all over the charts in the 90s and early 2000s, and it's like, who the hell are these dudes? And, like, a lot of them were, like, top 100, top 50 songs. I'm like, these guys were never on my radar at all. And I knew that one track, so I thought just that one track, whoever the hell they were like a one-hit wonder band. And, so they apparently had, like, several hits. And, hey, little did I know. I guess I was listening to Bracket too much. And, like, a bunch of other, like, the Sloppy Seconds and a bunch of other discovered in that grand sense bands, Tilt and Screeching Weasel and whoever else I might have been listening to on indie labels, who knows. Anyway, so that's been a fun sort of YouTube rabbit hole for me to just dig down into, sort of almost like I'm doing, almost like doing like sociology homework of just how music gets consumed, if you will, just for my own head, because it does intrigue me, like what is popular versus what isn't. Like how an artist, say Pitbull, man, that guy has tons of hits, like tons of like top 10 hits. Like, wow, like he's all over the place. But a guy I haven't seen all over the place, at least on like the pop charts, is like J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar, who I think are geniuses. And it's nothing against Pitbull. I mean, listen, I'm sure he's a good dude and whatever. And, I don't know enough about the cat other than, he makes like hit records. But like, I feel like if I'm given the two, I'm going to listen to Kendrick or J. Cole over that guy. And I'm like, it just intrigues me that like they don't sell as much as I thought. Or I was intrigued like how, even though a lot of folks consider like, Kanye a genius, like he doesn't really crack as many of these like top things as Flo Rida does. Like, damn, Flo Rida is all over the place. So it's like, it's just interesting to me how music gets consumed and whoever the tastemakers are, who they sort of anoint, if you will, into those spots. So that's really about it for my sabbatical that I've been off this whole month, that I hadn't really spoken to y'all very much. I didn't make a show. Like I said, no other reason other than laziness. I'm sorry, just a little slothful. Part of it was because I was on vacation. I just didn't really feel like doing anything that felt like work. Once again, excuse me, that was a laugh that turned into a cough. Speaking of Flo Rida, I took a Florida trip also. That was another reason. On New Year's Eve, I took a flight to Florida to visit my brother and his family. And my sister-in-law and my brother, they put me up in their place. It was great for the week. As it was, I got to hang out with, the reason why I call myself the Uncleboi is, well, you got to be an uncle, right? Even though a lot of folks, they might call me Uncle Tommy, or, they look at me as like a surrogate uncle, if you will. And I love that. I think that's fantastic. I feel like I have a lot of friends like that in the music scene who were like my surrogate uncles coming up that I would like sort of look up to. So to be like that for some other folks, I thought was really cool. Anyway, so, but legit biological Uncleboi, yep, to the two, my niece and my nephew, who are definitely my favorite people alive and the people that I think about the most in my life and I love to death. And if I sit here and talk about them too much, I'll start sobbing up because it's just who I am as a person. I'm a big sappy bitch like that. So, I took this Florida trip. It was great. We had a fantastic time. My brother had to work for quite a bit of it. My brother and sister-in-law had to work quite a bit of it because it was like, I was down there on some weekdays. So for those days, I would like take some days I would take like an Uber into parts of town and just go and explore, walk around some. And man, I really enjoyed my trip. My brother's mom and mother-in-law made some delicious Peruvian food that I got to eat, and I mean, it's just a great trip. Just awesome. Can't say enough about how satisfying the trip home. Like even though it was like Florida didn't want to get rid of me, they canceled my flight one night because of the weather here in Boston, and the next day they delayed it. So it was like, man, you guys don't want to get rid of me. But the trip home was fine. Got home good the next day. It was great. Easy peasy. No problems whatsoever. And throughout the airport, on the flight, whatever. Just got back. I'd say the only issue was it was so damn cold here. And man, I came down with one hell of a cold or flu or whatever the hell, just maybe a virus, a bug. And I thought I got bit by the Rona. I thought the Omicron might have came and snatched up your Uncleboi, which I did get my vaccinations. I was excited to get them. I know some people have their feelings on it, and whatever your feelings are about being vaccinated, they're yours. You have them. You go right ahead. But I was excited to get it because I've got two elderly parents and I work around so many people. And myself being a big guy, I'm kind of immunocompromised. So, I was excited to get them because it was like, I don't want to get sick. And I just want, everybody with all their questions. I think questions about like, if you don't want to get it or for whatever reason have a bunch of questions on it, I don't think that's entirely wrong to have those. But at the same time, it's like I feel like it's your duty to get it. That was my goal, or I should say it this way. I feel like it was my duty to get it in my life. If that's not the way you feel, that's not the way you feel, and that's just go on you. I'm not gonna. I do my best, and this is something that I think I've like even talking to some friends, and I know they feel so strongly about it in one way or the other. Certainly, my friends on the pro side, like where they get really hardline about the folks who don't want to get it. And I hear them out. It's like I understand you. It's like, dude, I get it. I'm not, you know what I mean. I'm certainly not in no argument with you on it. And then on the other side, the folks who have all their questions and they're hesitant and they don't want it for themselves. And, they said, well, they'll just, play it as they play it. You know what I mean? And listen, that's your choice. Go right ahead. I myself don't have any problem with them saying that. I'll hear some folks who do, and they bring a good argument to the table. It's like, well, that's, okay, I get it. But me personally, man, I try to be as Switzerland as I can on it. Just because it helps me sleep at night. That's really all it is. Just selfishly, I just don't want to fight. I just don't want to fight people on things like that. It's like why. It's the same reason why I don't totally want to fight people about. That's why I don't talk politics, because I'm gonna have an opinion that's gonna be different than yours, most likely, or somebody's most likely, and there's no. Us arguing about it and us fighting about it is not really going to change each other's opinion. Us discussing it is fine, but discussions don't stay civil right now. At least certainly not on the internet, and certainly not via text. I guess if we're face to face, it's a lot different. But like, the one thing I try to tell to everybody is that, like, regardless of what side you're on, everyone thinks they're right. And you are in your own head. Like, there it is. You've made your choices for yourself in the way you think, and that's how it is. Everybody thinks they've got the right answer, and nobody wants to hear it. But also, there's really not a whole lot of difference between me and somebody with an opposing viewpoint at the end of the day, as far as like who we are and how we live our lives, essentially. I think everybody at the end of the day wants the same things. We all want love and respect, and just to be treated, like a human, to be treated good, like nobody wants, nobody wants ill will on anyone else, at least without malice or something. That's at least how I feel. I don't know. I'm ranting, which is funny. Like, it started from a Florida trip, ranting. Anyway, so I didn't get bit by the Rona. It was just a regular cold. I got tested. Boom. Wasn't the Rona. I've somehow been lucky not to get the shit, and it really doesn't sound like any weekend in Maui, so I'm happy, even though I am stabbed and jabbed, or fucking all the silly terms they have for it. Vaccinated. Not the vaccinated, it's a silly term. Stabbed and jabbed. I don't know why jabbed. The jab. Did you get the jab? I'm thinking about it. I'm like, the jab. It's like, who's doing this to me? Larry Holmes? The jab. Come on. The jab. I didn't get the jab. The jabba. Jabba the Hutt. No, I didn't get it. I did get vaccinated, yes. I didn't get the jab. Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story about getting vaccinated, though. So I go to my appointment for my booster at CVS, which was kind of strange that they didn't text me before like they did for the other ones. So I knew something was up. I don't know if they were having server issues that morning, or honestly, what the woman told me when I was in line, I guess it's just been a big mess. This was back early December. I was having issues that morning. Like, I was like, they didn't text me. Okay. So I go, they didn't really have me in the system to get an appointment, but they were going to give me one anyway, because they were like, okay, fine, we'll put you in. What's your name? And I gave my name and, date of birth, all that. So the person who put my name in chubby fingered my name as Thoimas. Thoimas. So my vaccines are under Thomas Hardy. My booster is under Thoimas Hardy. They have me as two different people. Isn't that great? So Thomas has his 2 shots, and Thoimas got the 3rd. So, I don't feel very Thoimas-like. Man, so that was an issue. I had to call them for a few weeks before I figured out what happened. I actually hive-minded it on my social media, and my friend Julie, who, God bless your soul, Miss Julie Kenny, is a nurse and went and looked me up, and she's like, "Yep, they spelled your name wrong." It was like, oh, great. So luckily enough, I had the state send me a record for Thoimus. So I have Thoimus's record that he got. He got the jab. He got the Larry Holmes left jab in December. So, hey, that's a thing that happens. Yep. Anyway. Yeah. So also, I did a podcast. I got interviewed for my buddy Ken Reed's podcast. He does this great show called TV Guidance Counselor. Oh, man, it was so much fun. So the premise of the show is you pick a month and a year, and he picks the TV guide from that month and year, and I picked February of 1987, and he gave me a TV guide. He sent me a TV guide from that year. I looked through it, and, we picked the shows that I would watch each night of the week, and what a fun time just, honestly, just sitting and talking with Ken for 2 hours, and just catching up with him because we hadn't spoken in. Well, I think we've spoke quite a few times on Facebook about movies and TV and music and stuff. And he's such a fun and smart guy, and a guy who is like, he's got a mind like a steel trap when it comes to pop culture. Like, I'm pretty good at that. A lot of my friends will even tell you, like, how the hell do you remember all that? It's like, I just do. I always been able to. Ken is the next level of that. Like, I'm like, I would say, like, I'm on like the underboss tier of that. Like if this is a video game, I'm like the level like 2 or 3 bad guy who you've got to beat. That's like really good at that stuff. Ken is the boss, and he's not just the boss. He's like the Ganon that you need to do some secret sort of shit to solve him and beat the game. And it's not like an easy one either. Like holy shit! Like the way this guy retains info and learns about stuff, man, next level. So it was so much fun to do that show, and he made a funny Photoshop of the TV guide in question when he threw a few pictures of me on it, which is funny. The show that was debuting that week was a show called America with a K, which was a show, it was a mini-series in 1987 that had Robert Urich and Chris Christopherson and Sam Neill, a bunch of really good actors for the time, especially. And it was all about a Soviet takeover of America. And pretty interesting stuff, especially in lieu of like a lot of the politics we're hearing about today, and a lot of the stuff that you're hearing about, Putin and whatnot, and how, he might have had a play in certainly in the 2016 election. There was a lot of talk of election tampering. And then the My Pillow guy is saying that they did the same this time, but it was China. And it's like, oh, well, all right, that's interesting. He's the only one saying it, My Pillow guy. But what I'm saying is, it's like, there's still a lot of Russian influence out there, is what I mean. Like, they're still painted in a very interesting picture, or a very interested way, or at least their government is, about how our foreign relations are and whatnot. Anyway, so I thought it was topical that, like, it was like, wow, by accident I had picked that, that month. And I had never, or at least if I knew about this show back then, I certainly didn't now. And I was pretty beside myself, like, wow, I didn't know about this show. Like, shit, it's pretty cool. So that was great. Great talking with Ken. Just so much fun talking about, like, old TV shows and movies and just being a kid in the 80s. And, of course, I wound up talking about pro wrestling a lot because how much I love wrestling. And the 80s was definitely a very high watermark for pro wrestling. I would say the highest watermark might have probably been the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s with The Rock and Stone Cold and Goldberg and Sting and WCW versus WWE, WWF at the time. That was probably the highest watermark because they made the most money, and it was probably like the most over in pop culture as it was. Would have been probably the 90s. But the 80s, it was really close because Hulkamania was like a big bubbling thing. The reason why it was like way more over in the 90s was it was more than just one guy kind of carrying the banner, and he was still a thing. And then, like, the NWO was still a big part of that 90s boom, and Hulk can sit there and he can say he was a part of both, which is fine. He's said a lot of weird things lately, hasn't he? Oh, Mr. Hogan. Anyway, for better or worse. Yeah. So that podcast was so much fun. And, hopefully, this month, this January, as it's rolling down to a close, man, January sucks too, doesn't it? Other than like a lot of my family's birthday this month, my cousin John, happy birthday, my cousin Eddie, happy birthday, my dad, the buffa, Eddie Hardy, happy birthday, anybody I might have missed, I'm sorry. Friends and family's birthdays this month. Other than that, man, January sucks, don't it? It's cold. It feels like it's long. I'm usually out of work for a little bit of it, which is both good and bad. It's good that I'm like chilling, but it's like I can't really go outside because it's too freezing. And yeah, it seems like I always get sick too, and I'm sick right now, as you can hear it in my voice. I'm getting better. It's like, it's really just, it's really just sinuses and whatnot. So fingers crossed. I'll kick out of this in a week. I'm hoping. I kind of live with bad sinuses, and it's just is what it is. But I'll kick out anyway. Yeah. So that's a thing. And speaking of it, I think another reason why I'm not feeling too bad is that, man, I gotta get back to my healthy habits. I gotta get back to like finding a workout routine that works. That I hit like clockwork every day and every week. I gotta start doing that. I gotta start eating better. I gotta stop eating sugar and bread and garbage, and just really start maintaining healthy habits, because, man, I'm starting to balloon up again. I'm the biggest I've ever been in my life, and I've always been a big guy. I gotta really start to fucking hunker down, man, because I want to. Uncleboi ain't here for a long time. He's here for a good time, but I want to stretch that good time out about as long as I can. You know what I'm saying? I want to be here. I want to get old. I wouldn't mind seeing my 80s. What the hell? So I want to start to maintain my healthy habits now in my 40s that I can take into my later years. And I know I can do it, and I know it's all, mind over matter, and I've done it before for long stretches, and then I've had like things hinder it, but it's all in my mind that hinders it. It's all my own bullshit that hinders it. So I'm just gonna get in charge of my own bullshit, and I feel like I will. And if any of you folks, have any motivation or have anything you can, throw your old Uncleboi's way, please feel free to. So, wow, I didn't think I'd have a lot to talk about here, or I didn't think I'd be going off this long, but here I am going in at 44 minutes, one of my longest episodes. Jiminy Christmas. It's been a while. I've missed yous. And I hope everybody's doing well. I hope this meets you well. I hope everybody's all right. I know it's been a rough time for quite a few of my friends and family. I've had friends who've lost their folks. I've had friends who've lost their loved ones, and some of them way too young to go. Just so many of yous that I feel like I could run down a whole laundry list Some of you is really, really close to me. And, I just want to send out all my love and all my good vibes to all of you folks right now who are having a rough time because it takes the village, you know what I mean? Like, we're all feeling it right now. And just all my love and all my good vibes and all my praise to you too for continuing to keep on and to continue to be brave and push forward. Uncleboi loves you. All right. So without any further ado, I'll just wrap this one up. I hope, man, keep doing your thing. Always, always, always wash your ass. You got to make sure your pucky's clean. And, just don't be a dick. Treat people well. Stuff like that. Anyway, I hope you're all right. It's been good. It's been real. I hope you're all good. I'm going to wrap this up right now. Uncleboi, over and out.